Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to a new episode of Semi-Pro. Tonight, me, Daniel, and Josh are kicking off a new sweep called the, I don't remember what we called it, but it doesn't matter because tonight we are going to be watching The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Ah, yes. Tonight we kick off the underrated masterpieces sweep. Tonight's underrated masterpiece, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, also known as TASM 2.
Also known as TASM 2.
Also known as The Amazing Spider-Man.
What do you guys think of this movie? We've all seen this movie before.
I hate this movie.
We all love this movie. I think this movie is
an
pretty
underrated
unanimous.
masterpiece.
Yeah, it's an underrated masterpiece. We all love this movie. At our cores, at our deepest souls, we love this movie.
I don't even think this is a movie.
It's an endurance test.
It's been a while since I watched this movie, and I think I've built this up as such a piece of shit fucking movie that I might enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah,
I might be there
years.
too. I haven't seen
it.
this since it came out.
I've seen it since it came out.
I don't know that I even saw it when it came out. I think I watched it a couple years after.
I think I've seen. I don't know if I've sat down and watched it. I've seen bits of it at least.
But I do know that in the poster for this movie, specifically the one we're using as our splash page, there's a curve to the Earth, which is not true.
Yeah, that is true. The Earth is scientifically proven to be
little known mistake.
It actually curves. It does have a curve, but it curves a little bit upwards.
Little mistake.
You left something in the oven too long, and it started to curl.
Right. It's like the fact
in
that
the Spider-Man poster. Spider-Man is not real, so he shouldn't be in that poster.
Yeah, that is also true. That's fictional character, which is it's kind of
I remember a lot of goofy things from this movie. I remember Electro's teeth coming together and joining into one.
That's the big one.
I remember that. I remember that one cool shot of him diving.
Right, and I remember the fact that he was diving from
that.
nowhere.
That's the opening shot. Yeah, he seems
no,
higher than the highest
shot.
building. Isn't
That's
it?
not
Isn't
the
that the
opening
opening for this movie?
Because there's a little prologue just before that.
Don't spoil it. We're about to watch it.
Yeah, come on. No spoilers. All right.
I remember the fact that him and Harry Osborn were supposed to be friends, despite the fact that they just met.
And they also he didn't know what Oscorp was in the first movie.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're about to watch The Amazing Spider-Man 2. We will let you know afterwards if we think it's an underrated masterpiece or not. And this whole sweep is going to be filled with movies that we don't like as a group, but that other people seem to for some reason, and we're going to try to come to their point of view. Except for one, which I think we're finally going to do in this sweep that we've never done before, that we all like, but people seem to hate for some reason.
We're going to be
we are going to be the ones saying
we're going to be the underrated masterpiece.
We're going to be the fanboy who hates some movie or who loves a movie that everyone hates.
We will be the anti-shills.
We will be the last Jedi.
Correct. We will be the people on Reddit who chew you out if you don't like the movie. Who hunt you down because you are in a fictional film
and find where your kids go to school and send in a bomb threat so that they can pick them up in their white van after they leave the school.
Right, yeah. And so we'll get to that. Right now, we're going to pause this really quickly. We're going to watch The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and then we will come back at the end of the movie, and we will let you know what we think as we break down the plot and discuss it. So we will see you in... We're not back yet. We're still going. We will see you in just a second after we finish the movie. It'll be just a second for you, but it'll be in the entire runtime of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 for us. So we will see you in just a moment.
Hey, real quick, peep these. You can't.
All right, we finished. We finished The Amazing Spider-Man 2. We're gonna talk about it.
Did we? 5 hours later.
It felt so long. Like the movie's 2.5 hours, which feels long until you remember Spider-Man 2 is 2 hours and 15 minutes, and this movie was really only 2 hours and 20 minutes. But it felt like so long. Admittedly, this is the first time I've seen this movie since I saw it in the movie theater in 2014 when it came out, which I know it came out in 2014 because it has a song, For You,
Right.
For
And that's
You.
some other 2014 song.
Yeah, the
And
other
also,
2014
like,
song.
the hardest electro theme ever.
Yes, but it was also dubstep, so you know it's 2014.
Right. Correct.
This movie felt like it went on forever.
And then it did.
And yeah, and then it kept going for another 3 hours.
And then it wouldn't stop going on and on and on.
That's how
But yeah,
I feel about it.
Underrated classic, underrated masterpiece.
Underrated classic, underrated masterpiece for sure.
Really.
It definitely belongs on the list of underrated masterpieces.
I bet this movie has no haters.
No, who could hate this movie? It's
Especially
perfect.
not me.
Yeah, definitely not every single person talking right now.
I know people like
head.
this movie. I know they do. Itzem is
Yeah.
one of them. He's our friend.
Right.
When Itzem finds out that we're going to spend the next like 30 minutes just talking shit about this movie.
When Itzem finds out we didn't invite him on to this episode of the podcast, he's going to be a little upset.
Yeah.
Like I get that
It's
people
fine.
like
He's
this
playing
movie.
God of War.
And I get that people watching this probably like this movie. That's why they decided to watch this discussion.
Let's be real. No one's watching this.
Right. The 10 people who decided to click on this video,
10?
they've made it to this far.
Okay.
Okay, let's calm down there. This isn't the Super Bowl.
They've made it to this
Right.
far. The 4 people who decided to watch this, they've made it to this far.
Or this is my Instagram
So
story.
please, I'm asking you right now, comment or leave a review on the listening platform you're listening to. Why? Why do you like this movie? What is it? What is it about this movie? I get visually it's great, okay? And the score is fantastic. And the suit looks okay except for the stupid reflective eyes.
I'm convinced it's just that. It's the fact that visually it looks good, it's got a good score, and then the suit looks like Spider-Man. That's like it. Other than that, there was nothing in this movie that I can think of where I'm like,
and he's funny, and he's so funny and quirky and quippy.
But he's not. He's not funny. He's cringy.
he's just he's just like douchey. Like
Yes.
he insults every single person out there, not in like a snarky Spider-Man way.
Yeah.
It's like it's a Deadpool way.
It's not fun. Yeah, he's just like a dick.
There's nothing about this movie that's fun.
Even Deadpool, like his insults are more fun than, like, Peter Parker's kind of just a dick in this. Spider-Man as well.
Both of them, they're the worst. Every character in this movie is horrible, except for maybe Gwen Stacy, and she's not great.
She's just trying to get out of the movie.
She's just trying to get out of the country.
She's trying to get out, and then she's also just dumb and has a bad habit of going into danger. But Peter Parker's just horrible for trying to keep her in the country when she's trying to escape.
She's like, hey, I want to go to Oxford because
it's gets her killed.
It's Oxford, and it's one of the most prestigious universities in the world, and also, you know, I could go and cure cancer after all of this.
It's like a once in a lifetime
And
opportunity.
he's like, yeah, but what if you stayed in New York?
But baby, I love you. Hey, baby, I'm from New York. Baby, I love you.
Hey, I'm from New York, and I love you or whatnot.
Hey, what if you stayed in New York, and then we got some gabagoo.
Hey, where's the freaking gabagoo? Come on.
This movie.
I like his voice in this. I remember, like, one of the first things I said when we kind of like in his, like, I didn't hate his Spider-Man voice, and then, like, as soon as, like, he started talking,
And then he starts speaking like, oh yeah, that's what it sounds
and I
like.
could, like, actually hear what he was saying. Yeah, the accent was not great.
It's horrible.
I'm gonna skip the opening of this movie. The movie opens with
don't skip
deleted
the
scene
opening.
It opens with the deleted scene from The Bourne Identity.
Okay, well, that I forget. You see, even we just watched that movie 5 hours later. That
Because you were talking about it, and you were like, the opening is the cool.
The opening is so cool. It like opens with the Spider-Man logo, and then it flies out, and then it's on his back, and he's falling from higher than any building.
He's falling from a plane.
Oh my God.
Airplane! Is that a Spider-Man's parents reference? Josh, break down the plot.
So it opens.
The movie opens with a cutscene from James Bond, where Peter Parker's dad kills everyone in a plane crash and dies because they're secret agents.
Correct. No, he's
Then
just like a scientist or like something.
Yeah, he's a scientist who's working on the spiders, and he's trying to hide it from Oscorp for some reason. And then he gets a private plane with his wife out of the country, but an assassin infiltrates it, so he kills the assassin, and then the plane crashes and kills them all.
But what if he's alive?
But what if he's alive? No, guys, you don't get it. You guys don't get it.
How he survived that plane crash?
They cut the deleted scene from the end of the movie. They stole
it from us.
And then they cut the deleted scene from the end of the movie where he comes back and he's like, "Hey, I'm alive. I just haven't been there for the last 20 years."
It was the Parker blood that kept him alive.
It was the Parker blood.
Blood, see it all at all times.
Actually, no, I do think it was that whole thing was meant to start like the clone saga. I think so. I think it might have been a clone of his dad, which
there's no
even
way.
less dead. No, because they've talked about TASM 3,
they would do.
and TASM 3's clone saga was they were going to bring back Captain Stacy, they were going to bring back Gwen Stacy, and I think it was going to be his dad. Like his dad was brought back as a clone.
I do believe you because that sounds like the kind of thing this movie would do, but I also don't believe you because that's too stupid for anyone to think is okay, which I guess it's fine because they can't the movie.
Believe that. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. The next
man, they're gonna make it. They're making TASM 3. You don't get it. Andrew Garfield, he liked a comment on a post that was vaguely about Spider-Man 3, TASM 2, 3, 2, 1 being made. So it's gonna happen.
Can we talk about really quickly? Can we talk for a second about how much better he is in No Way Home than he is in this movie?
Oh yeah,
because I remember
it's like day and night.
I remember watching No Way Home and thinking, man, I really like Andrew Garfield in this movie, and I don't know if it's because of like my blind hatred for the Amazing Spider-Man movies, or if it like I thought that's what it was. If I'm being honest, I thought it was because like I hated those movies, and so I hated him. Whatever. But then I watched this, and it's like, oh no, it's because it's not the same character. It's just the same actor.
Right.
You know,
Andrew Garfield is far from the worst part of this movie.
I don't know. He's not very good in this movie.
No, but he's.
I mean, the thing is, like this movie. When we kept saying this throughout this movie is riddled with fantastic actors, but like
giving the worst performance,
giving the worst performances you've ever seen.
Awful.
Jamie Foxx, Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, Chris Cooper, and Sally Fields, all of
Dane DeHaan.
Dane DeHaan. All of who have like won awards because they've been such good actors.
Won awards for acting.
Acting, the thing that they do for their living. And they somehow, none of them sound like they've ever spoken before.
Dane DeHaan is the worst. Dane DeHaan in this movie, it feels like an SNL skit. Every time he starts talking, it feels like a Saturday Night Live skit.
It doesn't help that his character is the most shoehorned. Like every other character exists somewhat naturally.
No character in this movie exists naturally. Right. His is just the least natural.
But the thing is, this could have been exactly the same, but without his character, and it was just Norman turning into the Goblin, and Peter finds out because of some other way, because he's snooping around Oscorp, Gwen Stacy.
He doesn't need to find out. Peter doesn't need to find. He doesn't need to have a personal relationship with the Goblin.
Right. But to find out for story purposes. But like I don't know. I think this movie could have been a lot better than it was.
The movie's riddled with great ideas that it never ever touches
but they're great ideas because they're things that other Spider-Man properties have done well. They're not great ideas because this movie has good ideas. It's great ideas that are stolen from other Spider-Man properties.
Yeah, but that's just most comic book movies.
Yes, but most of them are good.
Right.
Well,
this one's not. There's nothing here. There's nothing to latch onto. There's no character beat that I like. There's not a single human being in this movie other than, once again, maybe Gwen Stacy, but I really don't like her, that I thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah.
I hate most of this movie.
Well, plot with something
we haven't even we haven't gone past the plane crash yet.
Plane crash is We're past that. Then it's the opening.
Then you get the cool scene of him like swinging down, and it looks kind of sick and everything.
But Josh, you have a fun counter for this scene, don't you?
I do. I'm gonna get there. I'll get there. It's a fun scene where
great. What should have been the actual opening scene?
What should have been the actual opening?
Lovely little swinging sequence.
And it's some of the best. I know Dalton disagrees, but I think it's some of the best swinging I've seen Spider-Man do in a movie. I think it's great.
I never said that. It is some of the best. I prefer, and it's not a testament to the effects or whatever. I prefer the more like smooth and controlled swinging of the Raimi trilogy to the more wild, janky swinging of these movies, which is not to say one looks better than the other. This one probably looks better and is more realistic. There's just something about that very like smooth, kind of controlled swinging of the Raimi movies that I enjoy. And they kind of went with an in-between ground for the MCU movies. It just has never looked as good as either of those two trilogies.
I like the end of Far From Home when he's doing it on his phone. It's like POV.
Right, and it's like, it's sort of controlled, but it's also sort of like janky and wild. So I don't disagree in that I think this is bad. It's more like it's not my preference. I prefer the very controlled, very smooth swinging that's in the Raimi movies. But
yeah, I think they're both fun and quirky.
They're both different, which is also good that they did it different too. But yeah, anyway, that scene happens.
That's how I feel about every scene in this film. It's like, oh, that scene happened.
Yeah, that movie happened.
So in the scene, there's a big truck chase as a truck goes piling down the street, getting chased by cop cars because they've stolen some stuff from Oscorp.
Yeah, what stuff? What's the stuff? It's orange, but what is it?
It's stuff.
I don't remember. It's stuff.
Does it come? It has to come back up later in the movie, right?
You're talking about this movie like it's cohesive. Don't put that idea out.
But the orange stuff, it's got to come back up later in the movie, right?
So
is driving a truck.
Paul Giamatti is driving a truck, and he goes, "My name is Alexis Telephone,"
and he goes, "I am the Rhino." Paul Giamatti.
No, he doesn't say that till the end of the movie. Don't spoil the ending.
Why was it in the trailers? Why was it in every single?
And then, well, during this truck chase, we get Spider-Man swinging in, and you're like, "Oh, Spider-Man! He's gonna do the Spider-Man stuff.
He's here to save us.
He's gonna do this. He's gonna crack a couple of jokes as he swings along and he stops the truck and he saves everyone." No, Spider-Man lets 27 people die in the course of this chase, and I tallied every single one. He sits on the side of the truck and like.
I still think that should be 25. I don't think those guys in the alley got hit.
Dude, those guys in the alley died harder than anyone else.
They got crushed.
No,
they're fine.
They died harder than the rest of the people that died. The people in the alley were like, they were crushed up against a wall, dude.
It was just a little bit of trash. It wasn't even like a full dumpster. It was just a little bit of trash.
They were smushed by the car.
The car didn't hit them, though.
They were like planks of wood that got thrown into them.
They're dead. 27.
They're
27.
They are dead.
Even 25.
But nonetheless, Spider-Man sits on the side of the truck and cracks jokes, and then swings away as the truck plows through an intersection and just drives through about 4 different cars.
Don't forget, he answers...
That was like half of the tally right there.
Yeah,
he answers a phone call from his girlfriend.
Yeah. Well, that's after it, I think. It's June because he's
riding on the front of the cop car, and instead of fighting the bad guy, he's talking to Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, and his phone ringer is the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then he hums it later, and then Dane DeHaan also says the words to the song.
Yeah.
There's several references to that in this movie.
Yeah, and then that's when he sees the ghost of Gwen Stacy.
He sees the ghost of Gwen Stacy, which happens like once again in this movie.
Once.
Once.
Yeah, it happens. It happens at the start, and then it happens again. It happens again at graduation.
One other time.
It happens like 4 or 5 other times.
No.
Movie.
It's just like 2 or 3.
It's a bunch.
No, Josh. It continually happens. It happens throughout the beginning of the movie, middle, and the end.
Either way, we get Spider-Man swinging around. He stops the truck and he zips up Alexei's and like pulls his pants down and then like gives him a nookie. And
right after 27 people have died.
After 27 people have been crushed,
he decides to pants a man who murdered 27 people.
And then he's like, "Oh man, I'm going to be late to my graduation," and so he has to swing.
Spider-Man did.
In this universe, J. Jonah Jameson is absolutely right. Spider-Man is a menace, and he should be stopped.
This is the perfect universe for J. Jonah Jameson, and it doesn't have him.
It doesn't have.
No,
J. Jonah
it
Jameson.
does. It has him in an email.
It's an email where Peter Parker says, "Hey,"
emailing him instead of texting him.
He says,
"We'll get there. We'll get there."
Either way, he swings to his graduation and he swings down. He gets changed in a second.
Oh, but he leaves his mask on.
He leaves the mask on and wanders out into the crowd. And he's like, "Whoop whoop!" And Stanley goes.
Stanley says, "I know that guy."
Stanley recreates Leonardo DiCaprio from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And
he goes.
He walks on stage.
Daniel, no one can see you but me.
He walks on stage, grabs his diploma, and then kisses Gwen Stacy. Very unprofessional move.
In a very I don't know. You don't do that type beat.
Well, like he grabs her and dips her in front of everybody.
You don't. You if you're doing that, if you're kissing your girlfriend at your graduation while you're walking across the stage, which number one, you don't do that. Like it's a very
she's valedictorian too.
It's a very professional environment, and that's one of the things you just don't do. If you're going to, you peck her on the cheek very politely and then walk away, because she can get in trouble for that, and you can get in trouble for that, and you don't want to put her in the position to get in trouble.
Peter Parker in this movie, he's like a cool bad boy. He wears Thrasher.
Yeah, you're right. He's a dog.
Did you guys know he skates? Did you guys know he skates? He wears a Thrasher shirt.
He has a Thrasher shirt. I don't know if you know.
He doesn't skateboard in this movie, though.
Peter Parker is me when I was like 6 years old. And my brother skated, and I wore a Thrasher shirt because I was like, "Yeah, I basically skate." Because
I skate.
I've seen a person skate once.
I've ridden a skateboard before. I skate.
If this movie weren't a soft reboot of the first movie, I'd say that he skated, but he doesn't because they rebooted that movie with this movie and just kept the cast.
What does happen after? Oh, he sees Gwen Stacy's dad again, and he's like, maybe.
Oh wait, but I thought he only saw him one more time in this movie.
Yeah, it does. This is the last time he sees him. Isn't it?
Yeah. Is it? No, there's at least like one or
maybe
two.
Maybe at the Chinese.
He sees him at the Chinese restaurant, and then he sees him twice at the end.
I feel like there was one in the Electro fight too, like the first.
Probably.
During the Electro fight, he just sees like Electro as Gwen Stacy's dad doing everything. And he's like, "Oh man, I need to kill this guy."
Oh man, I gotta snap out of this.
And every time he sees Gwen Stacy's dad, he's like, "Hey, maybe I should listen to him and not put his daughter in."
He isn't like that. He doesn't.
No,
he doesn't do that at all. But he does do that. But he also doesn't.
He does do that, and then he breaks up with her at the Chinese place.
No.
Yeah.
She breaks up with him.
Well, he's saying that he, but. I break up with.
I break up with you.
I dump your ass.
Well, no, that's Stranger Things.
Yeah, that's what this.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
It evokes the same feelings in me. I have not seen Stranger Things.
Yeah.
So yeah, they break up outside of a Chinese restaurant, and this is the first like actual Spider-Man bit in the movie where you get a montage of him just kind of doing his thing. He saves a kid from being bullied and then walks him home. A really wholesome scene. He gets a bit of a cold and he's still like.
Oh, I guess that's how he knew.
So
I guess that's how he knew the kid had a mom.
The kid.
He walked the kid home.
Yeah, maybe. The scene with the kid is the scene that people always quote when talking about this movie. They're like, "This is the scene. It's perfect Spider-Man." And yes, it is. But it's 10 seconds of this movie, and this movie is 7 hours long.
Yeah, that scene does not.
And also, it's so out of place when 10 minutes earlier he swung away from people.
He let 27 people die.
Through.
By Daniel's count, 25.
But yeah, then he gets like a bit of a cold, so he wraps himself up in a scarf and a beanie.
That one-
He's still
that one-
Spider.
I like that bit. I like that bit a lot. And
I
I,
like
wish
that.
he
I like
talked
that.
like that the
his-
rest
I
of the
liked his
movie.
voice. Yeah, I liked his voice in that.
I'm Spider-Man. I'm Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
I'm Spider-Man.
That's really how he should talk, given that the mask probably cuts off circulation to his
Right.
nose. That's how he talks. I noticed that's the same way he talks when he's talking to Norman Osborn or Harry Osborn later in the movie, trying to disguise his voice.
That's hard. I didn't catch that.
What, during this little montage, he,
Josh forgot the plot.
He lost the
vaguely.
plot in more way than one. More way than one.
during this little montage, he sneaks in a bit of time to stalk his ex-girlfriend while people burn alive in a burning building.
Yeah, because
He's
he's
like-
me.
He's like, maybe I shouldn't have broken up with her and saved her life.
He didn't break up with her. She broke up with him. Get it right.
She break up with him, Josh. Come on.
It's not
My
that
bad,
hard
bro.
to understand, dude.
So anyway, so he broke up with her and then regrets breaking up with her, and also puts off saving people from a burning building. You know, Toby's Spider-Man would have been in there like that. He wasn't
Without
like
his
that.
powers.
And
Tobey
he went in without
Maguire's
his powers.
Spider-Man would have been in that building with no powers at all. You know how I know that? Because he did it in Spider-Man 2 with no powers. He went into that building anyway. And Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man literally ignores it to stare at a woman.
Hey, come on. We've all been there.
He's just like me, for real.
I get that he's the most relatable Spider-Man, but I don't like myself.
We also, I skipped over this because
he's kind of the most relatable Spider-Man, but at the same time, like he isn't.
No,
like-
yes.
he's
In
the
terms
most
of his characterization, he is, because he does dumb, selfish things.
Yeah,
And I
but in
get
terms
what
of-
they were going for with that.
he does
but
what
also,
an actual person with Spider-Man's powers would do.
but the people who do stuff like that do not like themselves. So there's no wish fulfillment there. You want to be the person who would swoop in and save people from a burning building. You don't want to be who you are staring at a woman from the distance as she walks away from you because she dumped you.
Right. I also completely glossed over this because I forgot it was part of it. But during the opening truck chase, he takes time out of saving people to save one specific loser played by Mr. Jamie Foxx, Max,
Right.
who, like,
Right. Max Dillon.
Who may be the lamest person to ever
only-
exist.
it's
the
like
lamest person in existence, and also the only black man in existence to ever have a comb over.
He
Dan,
feels
you-
like
Possibly jacked.
Dan,
We're
you
very
you
chill
said
out.
this. It was like they Googled 80s loser and just put everything on Google Images into one character. It's like, you know, he's nerdy, he doesn't have any friends, he has a comb over, he's got glasses, he's got a buck tooth, he's got
People don't like him.
people don't like him. They
talks
walk
to
into
himself.
him and
He's
they
got a messy apartment. He's got one specific niche that he's really into. He's got one specific person that he's really into.
we see the
It
inside of his
feels-
apartment
he
and
feels
it's just
like-
covered in lights. It's
Oh,
covered in
it's
lights
his
for no
birthday. It's his
reason.
birthday, and he's all alone, and he gets left at work alone, and he has to talk to a pretty girl, and it's an embarrassing, awkward conversation.
he's just
where
like me.
lies about
it's his
school.
birthday and he's gonna light his candles. But
Right.
also he feels like a character who the friends of friends would have bullied for existing.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like he feels like a character on Friends who they would have made
He
fun of
feels
in the
like-
coffee shop.
He feels like a stereotype.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's the kind of character that would be in like a scary movie kind of
Mhm.
film where like they're trying to make fun of the nerdy character who gets killed at the beginning of the movie, and so they just go all out on everything. But he's meant to be taken seriously.
Right. This is meant to be one of the villains of the film.
He
This
is
is meant
the
to be the
main
center-
villain of the movie.
Right.
And then yeah, it's his birthday.
Although I guess that's arguable.
Yeah, I feel like they're
It-
kind of
it-
both the main.
That's a
villain.
problem we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
That's a later problem. But we get introduced to his birthday where he's got a cake with the Electro colors on it. You guys
Don't
get it? It's a nice
forget,
birthday.
he's gonna light his candles.
And he's gonna light his candles.
Gonna light his
But he
candles.
has to go to work. And he goes to work and he gets bullied at work too. And as he's about to clock off, his boss comes in and goes, "Nope."
His boss, played by BJ Novak
boss-
for some reason.
The
Right.
screen comes up with the fat guy from Jurassic Park and it just goes,
Don't forget, he talks to Gwen Stacy, and she's a woman, and it makes him nervous. And he says,
Right.
"You can't come to my party because there's going to be too many famous people there."
Yeah, and then she walks down. She's like, "Well, happy birthday, Max. I hope you have a nice day." And he goes, "She remember my name."
Yeah, I don't think he did that, but
No, he did. He goes.
He
"No,
does.
she knew-
He does say that. He says, "She remembered
goes-
my name."
She knew my name, and then the doors close on him because even the doors hate this nerd.
Also, does this dude not get how name tags work?
Apparently not. He forgets that he has his own name tag. And also his boss goes, "Hey, we need you to go check out the eel tanks." And he goes, "Yeah, but it's my birthday. Can't I go home?" And he goes, "No," and then leaves.
Which there are
So
two
you-
arguments here. Number one, either why didn't you take off work for your birthday? It's your job. Do your job. Also, just leave. Neither of which paint Max in a good light.
And
I just
one of
leave.
which involves him having to deal with multiple health hazards.
They're just very different. Like,
And this
they're-
is all just more like stereotypical, like
It's
shitty
also it's
80s
weird.
movie dorky character.
It's
this
so-
movie
everything
does
is going
feel.
bad for
It's
him.
it's
It
so
feels
bizarre
like an
going
80s movie,
from
but not in like a good way.
it's
This
so
movie
bizarre
is an
going from
80s
TASM 1
movie.
to this.
Yeah.
Going from TASM 1, where like the villain is Doc Connors and it's really sympathetic. He wants to get his arm back. He wants to feel like he has his life under control again. So he experiments on himself because he's gone too far.
He's
But it's
also just like horribly haunted.
Yeah, and he's like horribly depressed. He's like, "I'm sorry that your father died. It's awful. I'm sorry that you got orphaned at a young age." And it's this really good story about a good character, and you get this where he's in 2 scenes before he gets made full Electro, and I don't care about anyone in this movie,
And
especially
even as Electro, like, it's so frustrating.
This feels like an almost more extreme version of if the only
Spider-Man 3.
movies, well, sure, but also if the only movies in like the 80s and 90s Batman movies were 89 and what was the last one? Was it that was Batman and Robin,
Batman and
right?
Robin, yeah.
Yeah. Like if Forever and Returns just didn't exist.
Yeah, that's the
like
best
89,
analogy.
That's a
like it just
yeah.
jumps.
But even that, like that's like I feel like it's even more extreme than that.
It
Somehow.
is because at least those two share a similar style where.
Yeah.
I would
know-
say I'm gonna disagree a little bit with that because
Well,
I feel
it's
like
it is a bit more extravagant in Batman. and Robin.
Batman Forever really bridges the style between those two movies. But if you jump from Batman '89 to
blur.
Batman and Robin, like that's a big jump.
Yeah. So I feel
But
like
it is more extreme than that. It would be like jumping from Batman Begins to Batman and Robin. Like it's that big of a jump.
It's just such a tonal shift, and this is what we mean when we said that there's good ideas in this movie that but if Electro was the sole villain of this film, you could probably get a few scenes of him as like Max, flesh him out, make him an actual person, where he's stressed at work and he's overworked and he's underpaid, but he keeps it all together and he's just trying to do his best, but he gets abused by the people up top or whatever.
But they didn't want him to be an actual person, so they didn't make him an actual person. They made him a
Instead, you just
stereotype.
get this guy.
They made him a
You don't
sitcom.
get it. He's special, but he's special. You don't get it. He's special.
They made him a sitcom nerd and expected you to sympathize with him anyway, despite the fact that he's like it's not like he's a sympathetic villain. He's a horrible person. He's horrible.
Right. He obsesses over people who he's just met and idolizes them to the point of insanity. He is rude and self-absorbed with him. Like he's always like, "Oh, I just want the focus to be on me. I want to be. It's all about me, me, me." And I get that's kind of what they were going for in that. But it would work if we see that he's meant to be selfless and like he's actually helping other people, and he's just like subconsciously wanting to
He's
be
not
a bit about himself.
He's just a loser, schizo asshole.
As we
yeah,
were
he's-
watching this movie, we wrote a better version of this character. And in a world where people don't like Spider-Man, because they really hinted that before this. Like people don't like Spider-Man, people view him as the bad guy. If like Max viewed him as the bad guy viewed him as the good guy and then started to view him as the bad guy because of the public image of Spider-Man, or maybe like, I don't know, his
Maybe, like,
aunt.
even-
His aunt was in the car pile that happened in the beginning of the
Yeah.
movie, or something like that, right?
Mhm.
And then he starts to view Spider-Man as the bad guy, and because of that, he wants to put a stop to him. They could have done so many different things other than Spider-Man didn't remember my name.
my name, and I'm just crazy schizo and angry at the world, and also a loser.
Well, yeah. So
Yeah.
All right, yeah, had to pause it for a second. We had some technical difficulties. Josh, continue.
Electro becomes Electro, and he looks cool. He's all like crusted up in charred stuff.
I really liked that look of him, of crusty Electro. He looked like a mummy.
I'm just gonna skip over most of the Harry Peter stuff because I don't like it and I don't want to talk about it. And you can summarize it in about 5 words. So.
Well, so Harry and Peter were best
one of those words
friends.
is racist.
Harry and Peter were best friends in like middle school, and
When they
haven't.
were like one of them was like 10, the other would have been like 12 or something, or like 8
Yeah.
and 10 or something.
They were best friends then, and they haven't talked since then, which is why Harry wasn't in the first movie, despite the fact that they should have just put Harry in the first movie. But they didn't put Harry in the first movie because they didn't want it to be too much like Spider-Man 2002. But now they're trying to rekindle their friendship, and by doing that, they skip rocks together. And Peter goes, "That's the question,"
wrist.
and then he says,
But
"It's all on the wrist." And that's it.
all
And
on
that's the whole thing. And Harry Osborn was in tabloids, despite the fact that he's a nobody. And that's really that's really it. Like that's all that happens.
He's the son.
He was
with
with a French supermodel, and
He's the son of Norman, who tells him, "Hey, you're dying of the same disease I got, but for some reason it affects Harry quicker, but it doesn't."
Yeah, and it's dumb, and I don't care.
It doesn't establish that it affects him quicker. It just like it kind of almost shows it, but it doesn't. It just because we don't know how quickly it affected Norman when he was younger.
There's videos of Norman, and he's got like a cane that he needs to walk. So it's like, I don't know, it doesn't seem that bad. And then you see him in bed, and he's covered, he's all green and scaly.
Green, like some kind of goblin.
Like some kind
But
of-
they
Long
talk
goblin nails.
they talk about it like like Harry is gonna die soon.
Yeah, well,
when in
Harry
reality,
operates in the rest of the movie, like he's on the verge of death.
Years.
Norman
just
dies at a reasonable dying age.
He's like, yeah, he was like 60 something.
Yeah, he was in his 60s. He died at the same age that plenty of other famous people have died. Definitely no one recently.
I think
Yeah,
Norm Macdonald
What a fortuitous
died.
day to be
Last
recording this on.
That's why I said it. But nobody knows
was
what.
he 60?
For reference, we are recording this about 6 hours after the news that Kevin Conroy has unfortunately passed
It's
away. at the age
been
of
longer
66.
than 6
Yeah,
hours.
it's been longer than 6 hours.
It's been like 12, yes.
But yeah, he was 66. Norman was in his 60s in this movie. Like it's not an unreasonable age to die.
Right. And then 10 seconds later we find out that Harry and Peter are best friends and have been for years, but they just haven't spoken in 8 years. And Peter walks into his house like he's just been there that entire
Dude,
time.
he opens his front door.
That is crazy. Like no knock or nothing.
Yeah, he's just walking in. He's like,
In the middle of a board meeting.
So I
Hey,
heard
what's
about your dad.
good? Hey, how you doing?
He's like,
How's
hey,
your father?
hey, who's combing your hair?
You look like Adolf Hitler.
And then
Can we
him
continue?
and Harry go on a little date where they catch up, and he goes, "Oh, I was in Europe. I know you're in Europe. I saw you on a magazine."
You were with a French supermodel.
Josh, you said we could summarize this in 2 minutes, and
Yeah,
we
do
did.
it-
So
do it
just move
quickly, come
on.
on. Go
Yeah,
quick.
well, after this scene, we get Peter go back to Gwen calls Peter to meet up again for some reason. They have a talk. They're like, "Hey, maybe we should get back together." But
I don't know
Peter
why
gets
she did
sidetracked.
that.
No, there's no evidence or reason.
Silly.
There's no reason for anything in this movie. Peter notices that Times Square is going a bit schizo, So he swings down there, and Electro's walking down. He's all blue and disoriented, and he's like, what do I do? And Spider-Man comes in.
Does he talk
goes-
like that in the movie, or are you making that up? I
No, I don't
genuinely
think- I
can't
don't-
remember.
Yeah, I can't remember.
The fact
at
that
all.
none of you can remember speaks volumes, so I'm going to say he talks like it.
I love Electro's design in the hoodie.
Right,
I
he
love
looks
Electro's
fantastic.
design when he's crusty. I love Electro's design in his leather costume. I love Electro's design in
I
this
like the little
movie.
lightning stuff.
He's got
Yeah,
he's got
costume.
like,
Very cool
you
and
know,
important.
it's like translucent skin, and you can see all the synapses and stuff firing underneath. It looks
Yeah, and
looks
when
sick.
he gets angry, it gets like orange and then
Yeah,
red.
it gets like red
Very
and
cool, quirky.
absolutely
Red and
fire.
yellow and orange.
His
And
his
then
eyes
while
are
he's on
black.
Times Square, Electro does some electricity and then tries to
Well,
shock some people. And Peter
Spider-Man,
talks to him.
Spider-Man comes up to him and he's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, how can I help you?"
Yeah, I
And
was
he-
getting there, dude. It was next.
Hey, we're trying to get there fast. Come on. First you tell him he's going too slow, now he's going too fast. Let's just
Come on.
get it going.
Spider-Man's like, "Hey,
Spider-Man
who are
says,
you?
"Hey,
Hey, what's the
I'm
gabagoo? Who are you?"
big idea here.
And Electro's like, "Oh, I'm your eyes and ears."
I
and
think
then-
Spider-Man says that actually, but yeah, it's whatever.
Well, no, he's like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
he
you
goes-
saved me in the street," and he goes, "Oh yeah, you're my eyes and ears. What's your
Go for
name?"
it.
It's
And it's here
says,
where the
"What's your name?"
doubt starts
And
to
he
come
says-
into Max's head, where he's like, maybe Spider-Man doesn't remember me. Maybe I'm a nobody.
yeah, but then he's like, "Oh, your name's
Yeah, I
Max."
remember
Oh,
it's and he goes, "It's Max." And he goes, "It's Max."
Is it
All
Max?
quickly. He's like, "Oh, is it Max? Is that your name? See, I remembered it. Hey, see, forget about it."
And during this whole situation, all of the news cameras and all the screens on Times Square are showing Max's face. He's like, "People are actually seeing me. I'm
Finally.
getting attention. This is nice."
I think this is when we started to write the better version of this movie.
This was
Yes, it is.
and it is during this bit that the cameras then switch on to Spider-Man because it's Spider-Man. He's here to save the day.
He's
like,
saving people.
Yeah.
I'm Spider-Man.
And he's like, oh, you know what? I've had enough of this guy. And he tries to swing a car at him. So Spider-Man jumps in slow motion, splits his web in two, and saves people who are trying to run up the stairs away from the car. And he saves the day. He looks great. And Electro decides to go full Goblin mode.
No,
And-
he starts morbing.
He morbs out, and he flies into one of the screens and like sucks all the power out of everything, and then explodes in a pretty sick shot that I really liked.
Well, that's another thing. I don't think I mentioned it a lot while we were watching, but the electricity effects
They were
are
fantastic.
absolutely insane. Like,
Everything
I
in this movie
not even
looks
just-
good.
Not even just like how good the visuals are, but just the effects themselves were so
Every time-
freaking cool.
Every time he throws like lightning somewhere, there's this like after
Yeah.
smoke that's all orangey and misty. It looks fantastic.
There are
Absolutely
two
beautiful.
things visually in this movie I don't like, because I like everything. I like the city architecture. I like the look of Oscorp. I like the costume designs. I don't like Spider-Man's reflective lenses. And I don't like the Goblin design. Other than that, I like visually everything in this movie. And that one glass computer screen Gwen Stacy uses. I don't like that because it doesn't make sense. Other than those three things,
No, you
everything
don't get-
in this movie looks
Oscorp is
perfect.
Really rich. Oscorp is really rich, so they have like futuristic technology.
Yeah,
so
but-
it's like
Peter
No, but they're,
Parker's
like,
using
really
a Vizio.
they're really rich. Well, that's because Sony made this movie.
That's because Sony made this movie and they don't want to give anyone else any screen time.
You know that this movie was made by Sony.
So Electro's kind of come to terms with its full power, and Spider-Man shoots him with a load of water.
But he took the time between shooting
he
him with a
took the
load of
time
water
to-
to let people die
But as,
so that he
to-
could
to
put on a firefighter hat.
What
Yeah, but
about-
don't. It's a
he-
funny
the-
scene,
the lightning should have shot up the.
and it should have
should've-
killed
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
because that's not how electricity works.
It should've-
Water
it should've
doesn't
killed
kill
Spider-Man and
electricity. In
everyone.
fact, water is a conductor of electricity, so the electricity should have went through the water and shocked Spider-Man. He should be dead,
But that's
as
neither
well as
here
all
nor
those
there.
firefighters.
Then, and
Also,
then
Peter
the-
Parker's a scientist. Why wouldn't he know that?
And then I shit you not, the next like
I know
How-
that. I'm an idiot, and I know that water is a conductor of electricity. I know that. I'm stupid. Like, I'm
And then-
straight
well-
up dumb.
the
Yeah.
thing is, after this, the next like hour and a bit of the movie is just a back and forth of Gwen saying, "Hey, I'm going to go to England to study at Oxford because it's Oxford," and
Oxford.
Peter going, "Yeah, but what if you didn't?"
Not to mention, it's also the subway stuff with
Well,
Peter's dad.
yeah, and stupid subway stuff that I don't even want to talk about.
He goes
Nothing-
crazy. He
Nothing
builds a
pays
wall.
off. Even the Gwen
Nothing
stuff
pays
doesn't really pay off. Like nothing.
Well, it pays off.
I mean, yeah,
guess.
it pays off because she dies and snaps her neck.
Right.
But nothing in the middle portion of the movie
never.
is really worth watching.
So it's basically just Gwen going, "Hey, I'm going to go to England," and Peter being mad that she's choosing to go this once in a lifetime opportunity instead of staying in New York and dying.
Like New York is not a good city as painted in this movie. Nothing happens.
It's not painted as a good city in this movie.
And
Yeah,
that's what I said.
It's
I said that verbatim.
No, I misunderstood what you said, but I'm going to steal it.
It's
anyway.
also not painted as a good city in real life, but that's a whole other discussion. Except for you can go to that one shop and get your food done the Aki way. You can get peanut butter and jelly the long way. But
long way.
But like it's full of criminals. It's full of people at Oscorp trying to make genetically modified creatures. Nothing
Weird
in this.
Jamie Foxx.
It's weird electric Jamie Foxx. Let her get out of there. Also, you're Spider-Man and you're going to kill her. You've acknowledged that several times. Her dad knew that.
It was her father's literal dying wish. His fucking dying wish as he's like dying to like help Spider-Man save the city. He said, "Leave my daughter out of this." And
he not only does he
ignore his dying wish, but he does it in the douchiest fucking way possible.
Not only that, like
promises.
Not only does he just ignore her father's dying wish and continue to date her, because that would have been one thing. He continually, time after time after time, puts her in the middle of life-endangering situations. She came to Times Square. He brought her to Times Square. During the Electro attack, he brought her there.
Yeah, but then later he webbed her up to the car, so he was trying.
Yeah. Well, either way.
But he brought her there.
The rest of it doesn't matter. The rest of the movie is Peter Parker realizing that his dad had a secret underground train station that was full of science labs. That doesn't add anything to the movie either.
The tokens were hidden in a calculator.
Yeah, but
and that song plays. Daniel, sing the song.
For you.
So while Peter Parker realizes
I love you long after you're gone.
No, seriously. What does it add to the movie?
Yeah, no, this movie is serious.
What does it add to the movie? Because it doesn't do anything.
What, the song or the scene?
It sets up that his dad created the spiders, which we already knew, and it doesn't
set up him being alive at the end.
Do you mean what does it add to this movie, or what does it possibly add to future movies? Because they're very different. One of them has an answer, the other does not.
It doesn't matter. I hate it, and it's dumb, and it doesn't add anything to this film. It doesn't even add anything to, unless he came in this movie goes, "I figured out the secret to cloning." It doesn't add anything to the next movie.
It does, however, take the
if the Clone Saga thing is true and that's what they were planning, then it does. What they have does kind of set up that, just because it establishes more of what his dad was doing and his whatever.
What it does do is it takes away the specialness of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like it takes away him being specific and special, or it takes away this idea of Spider-Man that anyone could be Spider-Man, which, as we said, was something that this movie, and especially the first Amazing Spider-Man, did really well. Like it was this idea that anybody could be Spider-Man. You could be Spider-Man. And like even the Maguire movies don't do that super well, because I can't be Tobey Maguire. That man's gorgeous. But I could be Andrew Garfield. He skateboards through the hallways of his high school. You know, it's just it takes that away. Because it says, well, not anybody could be Spider-Man. You have to have Parker blood to be a Spider-Man.
Your dad has to have been a scientist who used his blood specifically to make this thing, this spider.
Well,
also, how unlikely does that make?
That he used to inject humans with to make them Spider-Man.
How unlikely does that make Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man?
While he grapples with these devastating realizations that add nothing to his character. Electro gets
for you.
Electro gets broken out of.
I love you long after you're gone.
And that's today's episode. Thank you very much for joining us.
I'm not moving on. Can we use that? Can we legally use that as the
I don't know,
outro
but
to
we're
the-
singing
No,
it, so
I
I
don't.
don't
I
think it.
highly doubt so.
Yeah.
And I also
No,
don't
I
want
don't. I think we should just sing this for the outro.
I don't. I also don't want to hear the song ever again.
But we can
Uh,
sing it for the outro,
wait, which
Daniel.
song?
I'm cool with that.
Which song did you not want to hear?
I love you long after you're gone. I love you long after you're gone.
Yeah, Electro he's like in prison because the water dampened him. It turned him off, and then
Right, and no, he gets shoved into the Spider-Man version of Arkham Asylum, and then Dane DeHaan breaks him out because he doesn't like Oscorp.
but he's cool and he has a leather jacket. So
Well, he hates Oscorp because Oscorp
yeah,
are
but
doing shady stuff.
Also, he's cool and he has a leather jacket.
And
And
during
then
all of
he
this
tases
time,
the guards.
they
Get it?
bond.
Electricity. It's like a setup for Electro because he tased the guards.
Well,
Get it?
they bond. Dane DeHaan and Electro, after he breaks him out of Arkham Asylum, they bond over a mutual hatred of Spider-Man because Spider-Man went, "Hey, I'm not going to give you my blood," and Dane DeHaan got pissed off because apparently he's dying in 40 years, so there's not enough time to find any
Come
other
up with
solution.
his own cure. You own a science lab. Your dad got so close. Just put them on it.
Yeah, like come on, man.
It's not that hard. Also, we
he-
got to
he
wrap
had-
this up pretty soon, but
Yes,
keep going.
I'm trying to rush through. However, someone keeps singing "For You" over and over again.
Yeah, I'm not.
The song is called
they-
Gone, Gone, Gone. So I may or may
Gone.
not have looked up
You're
the
gonna be
lyrics
gone,
for
gone,
the
gone
close.
soon.
We're all three going to sing it,
So they-
except
they-
for I mean, me and Daniel are going
Electro-
to sing it.
Electro and Dane DeHaan kill all of Oscorp's like CEO board or whatever. And
Oh,
he
we're
forces-
only here?
He forces
bring
one of
back
them
the
to take him to an underground basement that has a load of setup
light
for future
guy.
Spider-Man villains like Doc Ock and Vulture.
Except for only Doc Ock shows up here. Vulture doesn't show up until the end.
No, sure, but he gets the Spider-Man thing. He injects it, doesn't work, makes him go all Frankenstein. Other guy runs.
And during this, he runs
He
over
alerts the
to
Hat
this
Man.
mech suit, basically.
Yeah, he gets in the Goblin suit that they set up earlier on a computer screen or something. And he gets
Whoa, he's going Goblin mode?
he's going
And
Goblin.
he goes full Goblin mode. He gets like
Not
he
really.
gets scaly skin and
he
spiky hair, and that's like the extent of his Goblin.
He's got spine. He's got spiky spines. So
Yeah, and his
a little
hair
goblin.
gets spiky and his ears grow and his
Like-
nose turns into a bird nose.
he gets a vulture nose.
He gets a Vulture nose, and
Then he
then
goes Goblin mode, and then he goes and like
he
does-
flies away and does nothing for like the
yeah.
next 20
Gwen Stacy
minutes.
is gonna like go to Oxford's, and she's in the cab, and Danny DeVito's driving it because he Taxi, the TV show about a cab driver.
Not Taxi Driver.
There's a guy in the taxi who looks nothing like Danny DeVito, and
he
Dalton's
looked
just
and
delusional.
sounded a little like Danny DeVito.
He both looked and sounded like Danny
Gwen
DeVito.
Stacy gets out, and it says "I love you" in spider webs on one of the bridges.
Yeah, and he tries to talk her one last time into being like, "Hey, what if I went to England?" You know, and he turned.
Jack the Ripper, you know, hey, they got knife crime. Hey, forget about it. I can go to England. Yeah.
At this point, he sees a electrical plant that happens to be right next to where he is.
Right, and all the power goes out, so he goes towards that. She's like, "I'm going with you." No, you.
And he webs her hand to the side of the car and goes, "Piss off," and then just webs away. He finds Electro at this little place. They do a little battle. Electro sings "Down Goes the Spider" or whatever the song's called, the nursery rhyme.
The electric things is like making music.
Yeah, it goes like do do.
And it's
do,
the
do.
Itsy Bitsy Spider, which Willem Dafoe sang in Spider-Man 2002.
Correct. Yeah.
How does he even beat Electro in the scene? He tries to hit him with water, but it doesn't work. So eventually he just throws a battery at him. No, he loads him up with so much electricity that he explodes.
Pops. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Gwen Stacy helps with barely. So that adds the kill counter up to 28 now.
Yeah.
Well,
there were a few in the middle that we missed, but yeah.
There's a couple, but
We stopped counting.
you lose track after a while because Spider-Man's a sociopath in this movie.
I think he's more of just an ignorant douchebag, but
Murderous. Murderous is what it is.
it's like manslaughter, and it's
Yeah, no,
manslaughter at
it's
best.
manslaughter at best, but it's a lot of manslaughter.
It's a whole lot of manslaughter.
yeah. But anyway, he does that. Then
Goblin
he
pops
got
in
something else.
and
He's goblining.
Goblin
they're like-
pops in, Goblin fights Spider-Man, Goblin kills Gwen Stacy. Peter Parker goes to Gwen Stacy's funeral. Aunt May leaves him, which is real weird. She just leaves him there at the funeral alone. After the funeral, Peter Parker's really sad for about a year. He keeps visiting her grave for all 4 seasons of the year. Then Rhino shows up, and Spider-Man decides to come out of retirement, and that little kid from earlier is there, and he says, "Thanks for keeping the streets safe for me, Spider-Man. I'm Spider-Man." And then he swings the thing at the Rhino, and the credits roll. And we didn't watch the after credit scene.
I don't think there's not. The after credit scene is just the guy walking through Oscorp.
It's the Hat Man. We did watch the after credits. The Hat
No.
Man.
The Hat Man happened during the movie. There's another after credit scene with the same Hat Man.
Anyway,
to
the basis
Harry
of this whole conversation
again.
is
No,
the whole point of this whole conversation
the
is
troll
I
face,
hope all of you who
Yeah,
like
but there's
TASM 2
more.
don't get TASM 3.
I think that's it. Anyways, but yeah, that was a movie. We watched that
I-
movie.
I-
Underrated
the-
masterpiece. Or
All right, so
and
here's
I
the
like
question.
to say
Here's
I-
the question
The
for
result
this
of the whole
speech.
movie is I hope TASM 3 never gets
yeah,
made.
I remember another thing that I liked about this movie was the scene where he was fighting him in the clock with all the gears, only because it reminded me of that same scene from Cars 2, which is an actual underrated masterpiece, and I would have rather watched that than this.
Okay, this is my question. Would you say this movie
No.
is an underrated masterpiece? If not, why? Daniel, you go first.
Because I didn't like it.
Cool. Josh, go.
Because no aspect of the movie other than the visuals and the score is in any way coherent or good.
Can you see the perspective of why people like this?
I can see on a
I
purely
think masterpiece is extreme, but I can see
I
how
can see why you would like this.
because I didn't hate this movie. Like
it's
I talked
pretty
shit on
enough.
the movie for an hour, but like I enjoyed watching this.
I don't.
At least for the visuals and
It is pretty enough
Or-
that if I like switched my brain off and tuned in every sort of 20 minutes or so,
Oh, yeah, well, my brain was off.
But
I'd
it's
find
so
something fun.
long and it's so pointless and nothing happens.
Yeah,
There's 30 minutes worth of story in this 2.5 hour movie. You know, like,
yeah. Don't I know it?
basically I hate this movie and I hope
I
TASM 3
do.
doesn't happen.
I hate this
And-
movie. And if TASM 3 happens, I stand by this. I got a lot of hate for saying this in a post I made once on Instagram. If TASM 3 happens, please don't let Mark Webb direct it.
Yeah,
Like,
Like,
because there's a lot of stuff, and me and Josh kind of argued about this while we were watching. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that is his fault. 4 of the best actors in Hollywood having
think this-
the worst performances
what I've
of
thought
their
for a
lives is Mark
that-
Webb's fault.
so much of a movie depend. Like you could have the best actors in the world, but if it's a shitty director and it's poorly written, like it'll be bad. Like,
Yes.
so much of an actor's performance is dependent on how they are directed and how good of a director is directing them.
And
and
Mark
Mark
Webb
Webb
fails.
He's not.
Well,
he's
this
not-
movie,
I've never
movie,
seen another Mark Webb movie, so he could be a fine director.
he did 500 Days of
Didn't
Summer,
direct
which is a
it.
very, very well done rom-com.
That's some whatever.
But no, I think the blame falls partly on Mark Webb and partly, I would say mostly on Sony for trying to get a movie where they could just make a Sinister Six film straight off the bat. instead of
Sure,
taking
and
their
it
time.
also falls on the writers, and it also falls on it falls on everyone but Hans Zimmer and the cinematographer.
Hmm.
The blame for this
Yeah.
movie falls on everyone but the cinematographer and Hans Zimmer, because those are the only 2 good things in this movie, and the visual effects team. All 3 of those people did a great job.
And it wasn't just Hans Zimmer.
Visual effects team.
It wasn't just Hans Zimmer, I would like to say, because the
I
actual
don't
Spider-Man
care.
score. No, because the man's dead, so I want to give him a prop.
Hans Zimmer's not dead.
No, but the guy who did the Spider-Man score, he is dead.
Rest in peace.
Rest in power. All right, Daniel, you ready? You ready? We're getting ready to close this out.
I will see you guys later. I'm not sticking around for that.
Are you ready?
You're gonna say for
Are
it.
you
Come
ready?
on,
Are you
at
ready?
least
Are you ready? Are you ready?
How
And
does
I
the
would
song
do
go?
it for you, baby. I'm not moving on. I'll love you long after you're gone. For you, for you. You will never sleep alone. I'll love you long after you're gone, and long after you're gone, gone, gone. One more time. Hit it one more time for the outro. And I would do it for you, for you. I'll love you long after you're gone. I'll long you long after you're gone, gone, gone.